In the shadow of Mount Oro, the village of Tula lay cradled by nature's lush embrace. Green fields once stretched endlessly, and the river sang songs of abundance. The air was filled with the sense of harvest, the hum of community, and prayers carried on the wind to the sacred mountain. Mount Oro, the resting place of the ancestors, loomed above with an aura of silent majesty, a reminder of the spirit's constant watch over the people. The villagers believed their blessings came from the mountain, their every ritual a tether to the spirits. They thrived in harmony, bound by tradition, with their lives revolving around the guidance of the revered priest, Amayu. He was a figure of strength and calm, standing tall with his staff, adorned with intricate carvings that told the story of Tula's generations. His every word carried the weight of the gods. One day, a group of elders gathered near the baobab tree, watching children chase each other in the fading sunlight. "We are blessed," one elder sighed, leaning heavily on his walking stick, "but only because we honor the gods through Amaju's wisdom." A younger man nearby scoffed softly. "Blessed, you say, yet we till the earth with bent backs, while cities rise beyond the hills," he muttered. The elder turned sharply. "Careful with your words, boy. The ancestors hear all." As the village moved through its routines, a current of change stirred beneath the surface. Among the younger generation, whispers of the world beyond the mountains grew louder. Dreams of opportunity carried on the wings of traders like Chike, whose visits stirred curiosity and envy in equal measure. Amaju walked slowly along the river's edge, the carved staff thumping rhythmically against the dry ground. His robes brushed the earth, his eyes scanning the sky. It was dusk, and the villagers had gathered near the shrine. The weight of the spirit's expectations sat heavily on his shoulders. "Priya Samahu," a young woman greeted him, bowing slightly. "Will the gods grant us rain soon?" Amahu sighed deeply. "The gods see all, child. They will give when the time is right. Until then, we must have faith." Faith. Meanwhile, Nia, Amaju's niece, sat on a mat under the baobab tree, staring toward the distant hills. Her friends laughed and chattered around her, but her mind wandered. "You're quiet today," one of them remarked. Nia looked up, her eyes shimmering with longing. "I'm just thinking about what lies beyond those hills. There's so much more than Tula." Her friend frowned. "Tula is our home. The spirits guide us here. But what if there's a life where we don't have to rely on spirits? A life where we make our own choices, carve our own paths?" Nia's voice was firm. Her friend shook her head. "You sound like Chike, always dreaming of something better. But what is better than what the gods have given us?" Nia didn't reply, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Chike arrived later that evening, his presence commanding as always. He dismounted his horse and strode into the village, his robe catching the faint orange glow of the setting sun. "Good people of Tula," he called, his voice smooth as honey, "I bring word from the cities beyond the hills. They thrive even in drought. Their rivers flow, their crops grow, and their people prosper." Amahu appeared at the edge of the crowd, his brow furrowed. "And how do they achieve such prosperity, Chike?" Chike turned to him with a gleaming smile. "They innovate, priest. They use what the earth gives them, without fear of tradition. Progress waits for no man, not even the gods." Amaju's staff struck the ground with a thud. "Mind your tongue, Chike. The gods have granted us this land. It is not ours to take without their blessing." Chike bowed mockingly. "Forgive me, priest. I only speak of what I've seen. His eyes swept over the crowd, lingering on Nia. Perhaps some here share my vision of a brighter future. Nia's heart raced, caught between loyalty to her uncle and the allure of Chike's words. She lowered her eyes, but the seed of doubt had been planted. One night, as Amahu lay in his modest hut, sleep eluded him. Visions plagued his mind. A mountain crumbling into the earth, a serpent coiling around its peak, its hiss a warning he could not understand. He awoke with a start, drenched in sweat. "The spirits are restless," he murmured, gripping his staff tightly. "They speak, but their meaning escapes me." The drought had lingered too long, and the whispers of discontent among the villagers grew louder. Amaju knew he must act, but the path ahead was unclear. The silence of the gods more deafening than ever. The winds of change were blowing, carrying with them the scent of betrayal, hope, and ruin. The drought had dried the once bountiful river that wound through Tula, leaving behind a barren bed of cracked earth. Fields that once glistened with green were now shades of dust, and the people's eyes grew heavy with worry. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting a fiery glow over the village, Chike arrived with an air of confidence that commanded attention. "Amaju," he called, striding toward the priest, who stood near the shrine. "I bring a solution that will save your people." Amaju turned to face him, his staff steady in his hand. "Chike, the gods have their time. They will provide for us when they see fit." Chike smiled, his voice low but firm. "And what if they are waiting for you to act? The city beyond the hills thrives, even in drought. I can bring irrigation to Tula, channels of water that will quench the thirst of your land. All I ask is a small favor, a stretch of Mount Oro's base for our work." Amahudu's grip on his staff tightened. "You ask me to desecrate the sacred land? The spirits guard Mount Oro. It is forbidden." Chike's smile widened, his tone persuasive. "What is forbidden if it saves lives? Look at your people, Amaju. They suffer, and you could ease their pain. Would the gods not honor such mercy?" Amahu said nothing, his eyes fixed on the distant mountain as the whispers of doubt began to creep into his mind. The village grew restless. At night, Amaju sat by the shrine, staring into the flickering flames of the sacred fire. His thoughts swirled like smoke. "Priest!" A woman's voice broke through his reverie. It was Nia, his niece. She stepped forward, her voice firm. "Chike is right. This village needs more than prayers. We need action." Amaju frowned. "You do not understand the ways of the gods, child. Their wrath is swift for those who defy them." Nia's eyes flashed with frustration. "And their silence is cruel. Is it tradition that keeps this village alive, or is it our labor? We have the chance to change our future, and you cling to the past." "Naya!" Amaju's voice boomed, his staff striking the ground. "You speak as one who does not know her roots. Leave me, and do not let your words tempt others to stray." But Nia's heart was firm. She left, her resolve hardened, and turned to Chike. "Tell me how I can help," she said. Days later, the sacred baobab tree in the village square began to show signs of decay. Its leaves, once lush and green, withered and fell to the ground. The elders gathered beneath it, their faces drawn with fear. "The gods are angry," one whispered. "The tree is their sign. We must repent." Amahu stood before them, the weight of their expectations heavy on his shoulders. "The gods have not spoken directly. We must trust their wisdom and continue the rituals." The whispers in the village grew louder. Some spoke of Amaju's faltering strength, while others began to see Chike as a savior. That night, Amahu dreamt of Mount Oro. In his vision, a serpent as black as night coiled around the mountain's peak, hissing words that echoed in his mind. The mountain is strong, but its riches are greater. Take, and you shall have power. Fear, and you shall lose all. Maju woke with a start, sweat beading his forehead. He knew the serpent was no ordinary creature. It was a test, a sign that the gods were watching. But their silence was a torment he could no longer endure. At the shrine, Hamaju lit the sacred fire and knelt before it, his voice breaking as he chanted, "Spirits of the mountain, guide me. Show me the path to save my people." The fire crackled, but no sign came. The silence pressed against him, suffocating in its weight. He struck the ground with his staff, his voice rising in anguish. "Why do you not answer me? Have I not served you faithfully? Have I not given all that I am to you?" The flames flickered, but the spirits remained silent. Amaju sank to the ground, his heart heavy. For the first time, doubt clouded his faith. The days that followed saw Amaju torn between the gods' silence and Chike's persistent promises. His people grew thinner, their eyes pleading. His isolation deepened, and even his most loyal supporters began to waver. In his heart, the seeds of temptation had taken root, watered by desperation and fear. Amaju knew the choice before him would change the fate of Tula forever. But the path ahead remained shrouded in shadows. Under the weight of the villagers' desperation and the haunting silence of the gods, Amahu sat with Chike at the edge of the village. The air was heavy with expectation, the distant Mount Oro shrouded in evening mist. Chike leaned closer, his voice soft but insistent. "Priest Amahu, you must see reason. The people are suffering, the river is dry, and the crops are failing. The spirits have given you no answer. Perhaps it is their will that you act." Amaju stared at the earth, his staff lying limp in his hand. "The mountain is sacred, Chike. To mine its base is to desecrate what the gods have given us to protect." Chike's lips curled into a knowing smile. "And what good is a sacred mountain if the people it protects starve to death? Trust me, I will take only what is needed to build the channels, nothing more." Angayu's voice trembled as he spoke. "If you betray this promise, the spirit's wrath will fall not only on you, but on all of us. Do you understand the weight of this?" "I understand it well, priest," Chike said, bowing slightly, "and I give you my word. This is for the village, nothing else." With a heavy heart, Amahu nodded. "May the spirits forgive me if I err." Within weeks, the sound of tools striking rock echoed through the village. Streams of water began to flow into the fields, bringing life to the dry land. Crops turned green again, and the villagers, desperate for hope, celebrated Chike's success. At the village square, Chike distributed sacks of grain and gifts of cloth. His charm won the favor of many. "See what progress brings," he proclaimed. "Tula will thrive again." Nia stood at his side, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Chike, you've kept your promise. With your help, I can finally leave for the city." Chike chuckled. "The city awaits you, Nia. A bright future is yours to take." Maju, watching from a distance, felt a pang of unease in his chest. The people cheered, but the sacred fire in the shrine burned low, and the mountain stood silent. One night, the earth trembled beneath Tula. The mountain roared like a wounded beast, and cracks snaked through the ground. The once dry river suddenly overflowed, its waters rushing violently, sweeping away fields and homes. Villagers ran in panic, their cries piercing the night. "The mountain is angry," an elder shouted. "The spirits are punishing us." Amaju emerged from his hut, his heart pounding. "Gather at the shrine," he commanded, his voice straining to rise above the chaos. The people flocked to the shrine, their faces marked with fear and anger. One villager stepped forward, pointing at Amaju. "You brought this upon us, priest. You allowed Chike to defile the mountain." Amadu bowed his head. "I sought to save you," he murmured. "You thought wrong," another shouted. "The gods have turned against us because of your weakness." Meanwhile, Nia confronted Chike as he prepared to leave the village under the cover of darkness. "You lied to us," she accused, her voice trembling with rage. "You said you would only take what was needed, but you've taken more, haven't you?" Chike shrugged, his charm now a cold mask. "A little more than needed, perhaps. But what of it? The damage is done. You have your chance to leave this place, don't you?" Nia's fists clenched at her sides. "You've destroyed my home for your greed." "And yet," Chike said smoothly, "you were willing to leave it behind." "Do not act so righteous, Nia." Tears welled in her eyes as she watched him disappear into the night, the weight of betrayal crushing her dreams. Amayu retreated to the base of Mount Oral, where the shrine lay in ruins. He knelt before the shattered stones, tears streaming down his face. "Spirits of the mountain," he cried, his voice breaking, "I have failed you. I have failed my people. Take me if you must, but spare them. I beg you for forgiveness." The wind swirled around him, and for a moment, all was silent. Then, in the flickering light of a distant flame, a vision appeared, a phoenix, rising from ashes, its wings spreading wide as it soared toward the heavens. The living vampire embraced the nearer, but it did not fly away from the vampire queen. Amanu gasped, his heart pounding. "Is this your will, great spirits? A sign that we can rise again?" The vision faded, leaving him alone with the mountain's quiet strength. Returning to the village, Amayu gathered the remaining villagers. "I have seen the spirit's sign," he said solemnly. "We must rebuild, but we must do so with humility and respect for what we have lost. This is the only path forward." The people listened, their anger tempered by the priest's unwavering resolve. Though the scars of betrayal remained, Amaju's voice carried the promise of hope, a reminder that even the gravest mistakes could lead to redemption. Amaju stood at the village square, his staff trembling in his hand. The people of Tula had gathered, their faces etched with anger, sorrow, and a faint glimmer of hope. The priest's voice broke the heavy silence, each word carrying the weight of his guilt. "My people," he began, his voice low but steady, "I have failed you. I allowed my weakness to blind me. In seeking to save you from the drought, I turned my back on the sacred laws of our ancestors. The mountain, our protector, has suffered because of my betrayal." A murmur rippled through the crowd, some voices sharp with anger, others soft with pain. An elder stepped forward, his staff digging into the dry earth. "Amaju, you were our guide, our voice to the spirits. How could you let this happen?" Aisha's cool, warm smile fell on his face. Amaju bowed his head. "I was blinded by desperation. I forgot that the path of tradition, though difficult, is the one that keeps us whole. I stand here today to accept your judgment. Whatever it may be, a young woman cried out. Will the gods forgive us? Will the mountain ever bless us again? Amaju looked toward Mount Oro, shrouded in mist. Only the spirits can answer that. I will climb the mountain and offer myself in atonement. If they accept my sacrifice, perhaps they will grant us another chance. Amaju climbed the rocky path to Mount Oro, his steps slow and deliberate. At the base of the sacred shrine, he knelt before the altar, his staff laid across his lap. He began the chant, his voice quivering with emotion. Spirits of the mountain, ancestors who dwell beyond, hear my plea. I have wronged you and my people. I offer my life to restore the balance I have broken. Take me and let Tula be whole again. The wind howled through the trees, carrying the priest's voice into the heavens. The flames of the altar rose high, crackling with an intensity that made Amaju bow lower. The earth beneath him trembled, but he remained still, his heart open to whatever judgment the spirits would render. Suddenly, the flames shifted, taking the shape of a phoenix. Its wings spread wide, glowing brightly against the darkened sky. Amaju gasped, his body trembling as the phoenix soared above him before dissolving into a soft rain. The priest fell to the ground, tears streaming down his face. The spirits have spoken, he whispered. They grant us mercy. The rain spread across the village, and the dry riverbed began to fill once more. Streams of clear water flowed steadily, bringing life back to the parched earth. Villagers ran to the fields, their cries of joy echoing through the hills. Look, the river flows again, a boy shouted, his bare feet splashing in the cool water. The elders gathered near the shrine as Amaju descended the mountain. Though his face was weary, his eyes held a renewed strength. The gods have spared us, he said. They give us another chance, but we must rebuild with humility and honor for the mountain. The people bowed their heads, their anger softened by the sight of the river and the promise of renewal. One elder placed a hand on Amaju's shoulder. You have made amends, priest. Now, we must all work together to restore what has been lost. The villagers set to work, planting new crops and repairing their homes. The once silent fields hummed with life, and Tula began to heal, guided by the lessons of their past and the promise of a brighter future. The rains had returned to Tula, bringing life to the fields and hope to its people. As the sun rose over the village, Nia stepped off the dusty path leading from the city. Her clothes, though finer than before, bore signs of wear, and her once bright eyes now carried a quiet humility. The villagers paused their work, murmuring as they recognized her. The villagers paused their work, murmuring as they recognized her. Nia, an elder said, stepping forward. You return? She nodded, bowing her head. I do. I left seeking a life beyond the hills, but I found that no place feels like home. The mistakes I made in blindness, but I wish to make amends. The elder studied her for a long moment, then gestured toward the fields. If you are ready to work, we welcome your hands. Nia smiled faintly. I will work with you, but I have also learned much. We can honor our traditions and still embrace new ways to strengthen Tula. Her words lingered in the air as the villagers exchanged thoughtful glances. One by one, they nodded, welcoming her back to the fold. The village, once fractured, now moved as one. Men, women, and children gathered by the river, clearing the debris left by the flood. Roofs were mended and fields were planted with fresh seeds. As they worked, laughter and songs filled the air, melancholy truths shared with a wide smile. Amayu stood near the shrine, watching the transformation with quiet pride. A young man approached him, his hands caked with mud. "Priest, do you think the gods will forgive us fully?" Amaju placed a hand on the man's shoulder. "The gods have shown us mercy by giving us the chance to rebuild. Now it is our turn to prove we have learned." At the center of it all, Nia worked tirelessly, her voice calm yet firm, as she guided the villagers in adopting techniques she had learned during her time away. "The soil is fertile again," she explained, showing a group how to rotate crops. "If we care for it wisely, it will sustain us for generations." One evening, after the day's labor was done, the elders called a gathering under the baobab tree. The villagers sat in a wide circle, the sacred fire glowing between them. An elder stood and spoke, his voice clear and steady. "We have seen what happens when greed clouds judgment. The mountain taught us a lesson, one that came with pain and loss. But we are still standing." Another elder added, "Tradition is our anchor, but we must also adapt to the winds of change. Together, we can honor the wisdom of our ancestors while preparing for the challenges ahead." Amaju rose last, his staff gleaming in the firelight. "Let this story of our trials be passed to the next generation. Let them know that betrayal brings ruin, but unity brings strength. The mountain's blessings come to those who walk the path of humility." The villagers nodded solemnly, their hearts warmed by the shared wisdom. As the flames danced, Nia sat beside Amaju, her voice soft. "Do you think the gods forgive us, uncle?" Amaju looked at her, his eyes kind. "The gods see all, Nia. They know our hearts, our struggles, and our efforts to atone. Forgiveness is found not in their words, but in how we rebuild what we've broken." Nia smiled faintly, her gaze resting on the glowing embers. She understood now that forgiveness, like renewal, was a gift earned through effort and humility. The night stretched